Hello and welcome back to our Student Hub Live Open Day. Well, we've been covering an awful lot and there's been a lot of sharing about online skills, etc. Our next session is going to focus on our student support teams, which are people that you're going to come in regular contact. I'm so pleased that so many of you are all excited about your studies and really positive and enthusiastic about it. It's wonderful to hear and it's going to be a fantastic journey. But let me introduce you to Zach and Liesl. Thank you for coming along. Now, you're in our Faculty of Business and Law team. Liesl, you're an educational advisor, and Zach, you are a senior advisor. Students call you regularly and ask you lots and lots of questions, and I've got some questions here that students commonly ask. But I wonder if before we sort of start with some of the questions, you can tell us about your role and why students might need to call you and what sort of happens if they're stuck on anything.
Yeah, so as you say, I'm a senior advisor, so anything really that a student needs that isn't academic that they can find out from their tutor. So if they're doing ideas and essays, their tutor would be the first point of contact. Anything other than academic would come through to us. And depending on the level of complexity, I might be able to deal with it, or my colleagues might be able to deal with it in the initial instance. If not, then it would go and carry on over to Liesl, who would help out with the more complex stuff.
Thank you. As an education advisor, we look at providing guidance to students who have complex issues that are affecting their time and ability to study. So we look at sort of what the students called in with, and we try and support them to find sort of resolution to move forward to support them with their studies. We're really a friendly bunch of people, and we'll always look to sort of support them in any way we can by identifying the problem with the student, and that's why we like students to call in and speak to us if they have any issues. And like Zach said, when you're on your module, you can talk to your tutor about your studies or any issues that you're having with the taught information, but if it's circumstances around your studies that are affecting your studies, then you'd speak to your student support team, and there's lots of people like Zach and I and the team are only too willing to speak to students on a regular basis.
Now, you've mentioned complex issues, and we know that many students who study with us have various disabilities, and in fact we've got a specific session on that next, and we've got some great advice that we can tell you about for that. But some students have mental health disabilities that they may not think of as a disability. Some students may be evicted from their house. Some students have all these sorts of problems, and they can think, well, that's not really a real problem. It's sort of something that's really affecting my ability to study and concentrate. But it might not be seen as a legitimate thing. So what are the sorts of things that students call you about, or maybe that they don't call you about and they should call you about?
I mean, anything really that impedes a student's ability to study as well as they can is something that they can discuss with us, and it doesn't matter whether it's a mental health problem or disability, or whether it's something they might have more work commitments, and like you say, it does happen where people are evicted or they have to move house and area. All of those things are things that will affect your study, and what is great about Open, about online distance learning, is the ability to work that learning around your work, family, kids, anything. But we understand that life events happen, anything can happen during your studies, and we would look to kind of explore really their options, if they can better plan their studies, and kind of explore what ways in which we can support them and what they can do to help them through their kind of journey and their studies in that way.
So you mentioned that people could call their tutor or they could call you. When do they know who's the right person to contact? You mentioned academic related things, but what happens if they sort of say, well, I'm not really sure if this is academic or not? Then
call either one.
Yeah.
And if you want to call your tutor in the first instance, because they'll be usually your first point of call, then call them, and if it is something to do with us or something that we can help with, your tutor will refer it on to us. If it's the other way round, we'll always happily answer the phone. We're open all days of the week and on Saturdays, so anytime if you're not sure, you can't get hold of your tutor, then you can always call us.
Now, you mentioned calling, and we're talking about calling a lot, but there are other ways, aren't there, that students can make an inquiry?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can contact by email, you can go via something called your student homepage, you can call us on our regular student number, but you can send in an email to us and that will generate a request to the student support team for us. So the most important thing for students to be aware of is that you can contact us at any time, and you can do it either by email or by phone, and you can let us know in that email what the issue that you have is and how you prefer to be contacted. There's a huge amount of support available to all our students regardless of their individual circumstances. And that's the most important message to get across to new students and existing students. Just call us, you know, we're here to support you either by email or by phone, and we have a social media network as well, and there's lots of support available for students if they want to contact us. And it doesn't matter what their issue is, just let us know how things are going. Some of the things that we come across, maybe students think that they don't need to contact us, but if we don't know what your issue is, we're not able to offer you the support that we can. So it's really important, whatever the issue is, just give us a call and we'll see how we can support you.
Things can build up. It's like you may have to move home or something, and then all of a sudden you might then have a problem connecting your internet. And what seemed like something fairly simple can eventually end up with you sitting in an internet cafe or the USB of your ETMA, your tutor marked assignment, and trying to sort of get things with quite difficult issues. So I guess talking about things early can be good if they do build up. But also, when would students know that these sorts of things were an issue? I guess when is it valid and what can you really do about it? Say you are moving home, or say your internet goes down, which is a really common thing, and I don't think anyone really, until it happens, fully appreciates how it can mess up your whole life. But what sort of things can you do for students if these happen?
But they can ring in and let us know first and foremost if they're going to move house. If it's a planned event, you normally get a date. They can normally get their internet planned, but there are other sort of ways you can access. You can go into local libraries. There's internet cafes locally. You can talk to your tutor if you're on a module and you know that you've got an assignment coming up. A tutor marked assignment is how you're assessed on one element of the module. You can ask your tutor possibly for an extension. You can let us know. We can put a note on your record, and we can look at sort of other ways that you can support, that you can send things via the post if you want to complete an assignment. So there's other ways that we can support you, but again, it's really important that students out there, if we can help you, just give us a call on our number.
So you're really into this problem solving, because I can tell that you're not going to take my phone call and go, don't worry about your assignment, just leave that one. Or maybe sometimes you can if it's a substitutable assignment. So what's your approach then? You're trying to help problem solve, and sometimes I guess when things happen and you're sort of so fight or flight, you can't really problem solve. Is that what you do then with students, is try to figure out what the options are and then how we can manage that process?
Definitely. It's about just having a conversation and about working out what's going to be best for the student at that particular time. Whether or not that is an extension, or whether or not that we look at maybe submitting an application to take into consideration their circumstances, whether we look at, like you say, substitution on certain TMAs as well. There's always options, and we'll just go with the student. We'll talk them through all of the options, and we'll find out, I think together mostly, what's going to be best for them in that current situation. And
so there's no right or wrong. It's not sort of you've done this, therefore that will be the solution. It's really tailored.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just wondering actually whether there's sort of a sense that students get in just verbalising something and having that space to say, I'm stuck, this is a problem. And whilst you can help them solve it, there must be something really nice in being able to just pick up the phone or email someone and actually articulate things that are going on. Because I guess once you do that, you're one step further to finding a solution to it, aren't you?
Definitely. I would say that having a conversation with someone is always going to be more effective. I mean, in my personal opinion, than email. You can lose some of the context in an email. I think building up a rapport with someone is something that, I mean, all of us in the SST rely on to make sure that we're giving the best advice and guidance that we can give. You know, we always want to be kind of open and approachable towards us, you know, for our students to just give us a call. Like I say, if they don't know who to call, then call us. If you kind of know but you're not sure, then call us. If you want to explore your options, if you're worried about something, whether or not it's in this module, you're thinking about your future studies later on in your qualification, it's about just making that call, because we're all here for them whilst they're on their journey to getting their degree.
Excellent. HJ, how's everything on the hot desk? Well, your hot
it's a
chair,
hot
really,
chair
isn't it?
Today, yeah. It has been noted that I've stolen this chair from Sophie. I'm not sure if...
Actually, Sophie's haircut's gone down very well with our regular Student Hub Live attendees. And I see you've made an effort with your shirt today, which is very nice.
This is as close as I get to a shirt. I'm still... So maybe you can tell me what you think. I'm no good with these things, honestly. And I didn't do anything with my shoes. They're a bit... I think they're... I'm not sure if they're appropriate for the university, but yeah.
They're fine.
I suppose because I'm used to studying online like everyone else, we can sort of get away with these sorts of things, can't we? But we've just been talking about, we've got lots of people just starting off and very excited and doing their DSA and sort of getting ready and geared up. And a few students as well have come back who've been to events before, and there's lots of advice, and we're just talking about student discounts as well. That's one of the great things, isn't it? But I think it was Vincent who just said that he found that the support and help is always freely given, and gives a bit of relief when you're worried about studies as well. But I think that's a lovely comment, and I found that studying too. Everyone's willing to help, from tutor, anyone that you call up there. Brilliant. But yeah, I don't know if you've got any advice, because there are a lot of new students, so for people perhaps just starting off, not quite at the beginning point yet.
Yeah, that's a good question. What do you help people like plan their time and sort of things when they're not in a problem situation?
Yeah, one of the things that we do as a group of in the SST, the student support team, is we look at sort of when a student contacts us as a new student, what is their goal for their degree, what do they want the degree for, how are they looking at their studies, what sort of interest do they have. It's always really important we take into consideration the student's choice about their study plans, the study intensity. That means how much study you're going to undertake, what's realistic for you with your current life at the moment. We try to sort of help you explore that. One of the things that we advise students to do early on, if you haven't done it already, please access your student homepage. It's a really good link. If you go on to when you log in, it's halfway down on the left hand side, and you click student home, and it's a mind of information. There's all sorts of information on there for all the students to access about sort of looking at completing assignments, what's available from student support, how we can help you with lots and lots of different situations. And I would really recommend that our new students who are listening to navigate the student homepage before they start. There's a wealth of information there for you, and if you have any questions, then you can give us a call.
Okay, I've got a question. When do you think students would be likely to receive a call back or an email if they get in touch with you? I mean, is phoning, you mentioned how nice it is to phone, I really get that, but if they email or whatever, what's the sort of response time that they could expect to get back a reply?
We like to get back to them within 2 working days.
Yeah.
If the issue is quite complex, then we'll always send out an initial email or try and contact them within that 2 days to just let them know that we're on the case and that we're looking into it. But yeah, it's always kind of 2 working days we like to get back to our students initially for an inquiry.
Okay. And do you get people who've maybe studied a long time ago and then think, oh, I want to come back to the OU? I mean, because quite a lot has changed, especially recently, in terms of how things are set up. Do you often deal with people who are coming back to the OU to study? Can you help them with like credit transfers and things?
Yeah, credit transfer is when students have maybe studied either is external to the OU, and if they've been to a campus-based university, we have a department here in the university that will look at their previous study to see whether it can be used towards any of our qualifications. So if you have studied previously and you've not considered the Open University, then you can send in your transcripts and what you've studied, and the Open University will look at it, and then if you have a qualification that you're particularly interested in, credit transfer team will look at it and assess it to see whether you can gain any credit, and it's really important that you do that. We have a website on the Open University itself called Credit Transfer, and we have a deadline each year for the study when the information needs to be in by. We can talk to students about that and whether their credit information that they've studied before can be used on any future modules within the Open University. And we can also give advice on sort of resuming your studies when you come back if you haven't studied for a while, and that's a really key piece of information if you're working or running a business. You know, we're here to sort of help you, plan your studies so that you'll be successful and achieve your goals.
And what about if students start best will in the world, then all of a sudden things happen and they might need to withdraw from their studies? Do they phone you about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's always good if you do come to a point where you feel like at this point in time you can't continue, or if anything's kind of happened, then it's always best to call your student support team, and we'll go through a revised study plan. We'll talk about the academic implications, the financial. We'll walk you through everything, so you can make the best kind of informed decision. And if you need to withdraw, then we'll guide you through and how to do that and what you can do to catch up in the meantime if there's a
Because
mistake.
a lot of students would do that. I mean, things do happen, and you know, best will in the world, sometimes it is necessary to do things like that, and that can be difficult, but I guess there's a benefit in doing that sooner rather than later, isn't there?
100%. I mean, a huge portion of our students are employed adults in full-time jobs with families, and life events happen. It's perfectly common for people to need to defer their studies and just go until the next presentation. You know, life happens. And we're always there to kind of walk them through, and it's easy enough to, you know, put some stuff on hold. A lot of our modules have assessment banking, so you can bank the assignments that you have, that you've completed thus far, and then continue on from where you started on the next presentation of your module. So.
Okay, cool. So we've talked about some of the problems and the need to speak to you early, but you also must know a lot of the good bits that students experience. So what would be some of the most important things, in your opinion, that students should bear in mind when studying with the OU?
What do you say?
I think looking at the modules that you're going to study and looking at the information, you know, when your assignments are due, that's quite a key thing. Engaging early with your student homepage, looking at all the information that's available on there, looking at sort of any kind of issues that you think you might have or any further support that you might need, and to make sure you have the student SST contact number to hand should you need anything. We're open sort of Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. till 8 p.m, and we're open on Saturdays 9 till 5, and students can contact us via email, and when their module website opens, there's a planner there and there's lots of information online. But that doesn't mean because we're online there's no one here to help you. There's lots and lots of people within your student support team, whichever faculty you join, whether it's law, business, science, education, languages, there'll be a student support team attached to that for you. So I really recommend looking at your student homepage. So there's a lot of information on there, and then we can help students if they have any queries at all before they start. And we also have our Open Learn website as well, which will have taster materials on some of the modules that we produce, and also there's Future Learn. So if you're new to the OU and you're not sure, have a look at our Open Learn and our Future Learn websites to give you an idea of the materials that you might actually see on your web page before your module opens.
And we've got a session coming up very soon about students with disabilities, but I guess you must have a lot of queries. How do you then triage those, and what happens when students speak to you about those things?
Okay, thank you. If a student has a disability, we have a huge disability resource team here within the Open University that looks at supporting students from a variety of perspectives. So whatever a student's individual needs are, they can contact the university. When a query will come in either to the student support team, we will take ownership of that and then provide advocacy, and we will contact the relevant departments and ask the student to apply the disability support profile form, which is actually accessible via the student homepage. They can let us know what their individual needs are, and then that generates then the links between the SST and the disability support team. So we're seeing it's a seamless process for the student, so they're getting the support they need from all the departments, but someone has ownership of it, so that the student can contact us at any time and keep up to date with their information. And if their situation changes, they need more support or less support, they can contact us again and update that. So, and we have a huge amount of resources, and we look at reasonable adjustments and things for students to continue with their study journeys.
Okay, now you mentioned some of this, and you're talking about records and things, and I know that sometimes people can get worried about who sees what. I was talking to Judina and Matt earlier, and we were sort of saying about how, you know, your tutor won't see whether you've ticked the study calendar or whether you've engaged with an online activity or what you put for that. But I guess some of these records might be seen by people. So say you make a statement, who would see that, and who would sort of see the communication? Or you move house and you've sort of called the student support team, would your tutor see it? How do we sort of connect that information to support students, and should they be worried then about any information they put on? Because I think increasingly people are worried about the data that they give, and then the sort of implications maybe of sharing some of that data. They might be worried that, you know, their tutor thinks, oh, you know, they can't manage their time, or you know how it's like when you think, oh, this is not going to reflect well on me, even if it's not your fault. How's that data managed, and do students need to be aware of anything with that data?
All the information we have is held on our data system called Voice. It is accessible by people in the student support team, but it's really important for students to remember we are bound by the data protection guidelines. All the information a student shares are only allocated to their record. The SST, as student advisors and education advisors, we discuss everything with the student first and no one else, unless the student needs an advocate, and then they have to complete a form to give us permission to discuss somebody who's supporting them, so that students can have an advocacy agreement if they feel that that's important to them and they want someone to support them with their studies. But everything is done from a supportive perspective to the student. We're not looking to say, oh, this person's done this or this, they haven't done that. It's a really supportive environment in the SST, and our job as advisors is to ensure students, they can have a successful study journey with us. But the data is all held confidentially. We only discuss that student, that information with the student that specifically is asking to speak to us. It's not shared with anybody. We will advocate for the student on behalf of the university. If the student sends in a query, we will take ownership of that, and then we will contact the departments, get all the information that we need, and then we will feed back to the student. And that's the most important thing, that they know that they're going to speak to one person who can help them resolve their study issues.
And do they speak to one person throughout? Like, say they get you, Zach, would you be somebody who, we could always call up? Or you mentioned there's a team there. Do students ever have, do they ever form relationships with people, or is it a case that you just sort of get potluck with who you call?
I think it's always good when you develop, relationships with your students and build up on a rapport. And if they feel like they want to speak to a certain advisor, just to add kind of continuity and a bit of a personalised approach to their journey. Having someone there that is aware. I mean, if you think of the law team within the business and law student support team, there's 5 advisors. It's a dynamic team. We're aware of our law students on a day-to-day basis and what kind of queries are coming in. There's only 18 senior advisors and 6 educational advisors throughout business and law SST. And we all come together and help each other out, and we all know when we're kind of on and on the phone or kind of available. If the student feels that they want to return to either an educational advisor, which a lot of the time they will do, definitely if they need that kind of support. But if they feel the need to request support from the senior advisor, we will always try our best to make ourselves available for that student to just up the service and be there for that student that we've spoke to and given advice to.
That's really nice, because I think sometimes you can all imagine this sort of massive expansive area of people who are sort of coming and going, but I guess it's nice to build up a relationship with those students, and in particular if something's a little bit difficult to talk about, it's nice to have somebody who you've told the story to in the first place, so you don't need to repeat it. HJ, how's everything going on the chat? You're busy typing away.
I know, I feel a bit rude sometimes just being at the screen, but we're having such a good time talking about very important stuff all the time. We never get distracted. But we've actually got some really good questions. So I think it's Sheila asked if you get the same student support person every time. So if there's a sort of big issue you talk about, or you call back a couple of times, is that possible? Does that happen?
You can always request it. If like I said, we're small, we're quite dynamic, and we want to give the best service that we can give, and that ultimately naturally leads to building rapport and good relationships with our students. So if we're available, then we'll always take the call from a student that we've previously spoken to. So if a student feels the need that they want to speak to that same person, that's fine. It's always good to take into account that everybody is there for each other in the team and there for their students. So if it is a query that may be related to a previous conversation, you may want to go back to the same senior advisor, but all of the senior advisors and educational advisors there will be able to help you with your query. We're all kind of open and approachable, and we'll all do our best to give them the answers and the advice and guidance they need.
I think a lot of people just seeing your faces and knowing, some of the people that might be on the phone, they're very reassured, and they said, they've always had good help when they've called up, and they always find it helpful just to be, open and honest and say things how it is. And I think that's great advice just to do that. We did have a question as well. What about someone who's might be thinking about deferring with their courses? Is there any advice or key points you think they should have a think about before taking that step? Or
I mean,
They need to call in and speak to us about the issues they're having on their module that's making them think that they want to defer. I mean, if the student's not in the right place for their studies, our role is to sort of support them through that process and to give them the advice and guidance that they may need. There may be some options that they've not considered. If they're in a particularly difficult situation and they maybe have not thought, that there's other options available to them, they can contact us and we can have a chat with them with their studies. Our sort of focus for students is to support them so they have that seamless journey, so that they are aware as a student support team what we can support them with. And I think if that student is out there, please do give us a call and we'll see what we can do to help you with your studies and help you make the best informed decision that's right for you.
I think one of the things we always have always very important questions, and this is one that came on Twitter. We had a little debate with some of the people that were following us about because it was National Cream Tea Day the other day, and there was a bit of a debate about how to assemble your scone, whether you should cream first then jam, or jam then cream, or just shove it in your mouth. We're not too sure. What do you guys think?
I think isn't it cream and then jam? I think that should be the way.
I think it's jam and then
Oh,
cream.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
I just think I just like to eat it. It's scone, so I don't care how it goes. I just like to have some.
Oh, brilliant. Excellent. Well, I hope we've answered those questions, brilliant questions, and I hope you've learned something. And take-home point here is lovely, friendly people. Are you going back to the office now? Can people phone you?
Yeah, that's it. If you want
Okay.
to call in.
So if you're in the Faculty of Business and Law, you might be speaking to Zach or Liesl later today. If you're not, you might be speaking to somebody equally as friendly and lovely. But thank you both so much. I hope you have a good day. I hope lots of students call you. Yeah, brilliant. Lovely.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Right, so our next session is about support for disabled students, and I have some lovely colleagues who are going to come and fill you in on so many important things, so do hang around for that. But before we do that, I'm going to give you a little show around one of the areas way down the back. It's the Legacy Garden, a really, really pretty, lovely spot and perfect for some solitude at lunchtime. So let me tell you all about that in this short video before we're back talking about support for disabled students.